And you know what? I'll just throw in a few sentence structure and vocabulary in there. I don't want to make that mistake again.
Hey, welcome to my video. This is going to be a bit different from the usual, but it's still going to be interesting, so stick all the way through. Especially if you're learning a new language or if you're planning to learn a new language in the future. Today I'm going to talk about one of my theories about language learning. It's the rainy day theory. It's nothing backed up scientifically, but I thought I would share my thoughts about it. And this is backed up of my own experience and the experience of other learners. Without any transition, let's get started. Let's all agree on the fact that learning language is nothing linear and it's not constant, because you're learning one thing and then you're remembering another, but you're at the same time forgetting something that you learned yesterday. It all happens at once in your mind, and the whole end result is pretty unconstant. On some days you will be super confident in your language or in the language you're learning, and you will be able to express yourself clearly, and the next day you will suck. Let's face it. There are some sunny days where you're really confident and some rainy days where you feel everything is falling apart. But the more you're progressing, the more you strive for fluency, the more the contrast between the two diminishes. Comes a point where you're pretty confident in the language you're learning, and every day is kind of sunny. It's true, like as a native English speaker, if you're one, there won't be any day where you will forget everything, where you won't be able to express yourself clearly. That won't happen. Well, maybe if you have a head trauma or a stroke, but that's pretty extreme. And it's the same thing if you're learning a new language and you're starting to be pretty confident. When someone talks to you in that language, you will know what to answer, even if it's not a good day for you, if you're feeling tired or whatever. And that's the ultimate goal behind language learning. It's not about learning every damn word of the dictionary or learning every damn grammar rule in one given language. No, it's being able to express yourself in that language freely without too much friction for a long amount of time. I'm talking more than a few hours, without being too drained. Now, that's a challenge, and that's what I call fluency. But let's face it, to get there, you will face so many rainy days. It's going to be daunting as f***. It's not going to be easy. On those rainy days, you will feel so weak. You will feel like everything you're learning just comes out dripping out of your ears. There's nothing that sticks. It feels like all the efforts you're putting into it are worthless. And it feels like if things continue at that rhythm, at that pace, you will forget everything, including yes or no in that language, in a matter of weeks. But what is happening really when you're on a rainy day? Are your neural pathways just disintegrating? Is your brain replacing what you worked hard for with stuff that it deems more important or necessary? Are you just tired? What the heck is happening? Wouldn't it be more easy if you could just have an ETA of when you will meet your goal, if it was just all clear and constant, if you were just accumulating words and boo, fluent? It would be easy, right? It would be pretty interesting. But the thing is, when you're learning something, you're learning it consciously. So let it be any task you're learning or any skill. If you're learning how to skateboard, how to ice skate, how to do math, physics, anything, you're learning it consciously first, and you're first training it in your conscious mind. Language learning wise, you have to think of every different tongue position, and then movement, and then muscle contraction in the right sequence of order, but to make words that make sense, following a pattern, a grammatical pattern in your head. All of this takes so much effort. It takes all of your focus and all of this headspace you have. Have you ever tried to speak a new language while driving? Don't. It's not safe. Do it while you're well rested and in a place where you can't crash. But all of this needs to change. Change is inevitable. It will happen at some point. It's necessary because you want to focus on what you want to say, on the content of what you're saying, and not on how you deliver the message. Otherwise, it's pretty inefficient. Imagine if it was the case for English, if we had never internalized English. It would be super hard to speak, because every time we would have to speak to think of all of the things our mouth is doing, our breathe flow, the patterns with syllable stresses and everything, we wouldn't be able to walk and talk or do all sorts of essential stuff. So you have to internalize what you freshly learned. What's in your conscious mind needs to go in your subconscious mind. I don't know if your conscious mind is here and your subconscious here. It just felt right. But this process is not instant. It doesn't happen like this. Your brain has to filter what it's going to internalize and then compress it, redesign, optimize so that it doesn't take too much space. And this is draining. Number one, essential. Like we said, we can consciously do everything we're doing, but it also means that all this information is temporarily inaccessible for you. And it feels like it's just lost in the chaos of your own mind. That's when rainy days occur. And yeah, it's not fun, but you have to go through this because you need to internalize stuff. And I think this process is not too long or not too painful if you don't fight it, if you just let it happen. Because if you fight it and if you always try to rehearse, recite what you've freshly learned so that it always stays in your conscious mind, then like your brain, number one, doesn't think that what you're learning is very necessary and won't ship it to your subconscious. Like I said, it's an analogy. It doesn't work like this exactly. And number two, if it does happen, it will be pretty painful and scary. So we want to let our brain do its task and let what we learn sit in there for a little bit and then be processed by our own brain. So when a rainy day occurs, then you can think that your brain is just preparing and shipping all this precious information that you can't access at the moment to your subconscious, and then you go to sleep once, twice, several times, and then you wake up and poof, you just know. You're about to say something and it just comes out, and this is a magical feeling. I can't stress this enough. It feels so good. You struggle, you didn't know how to say it, and finally it just comes naturally, like if it was in your own native language. And this feeling is addictive. You always chase it. You end up like craving it. But yeah, you see, it feels good. Like, it makes me feel happy. It feels good. It's the calm after the storm. It's the sunny day after the rainy day. You finally dry. You feel warm. It's like the spring after winter. Oh, actually, it's a pretty good analogy. You would learn everything during summer. You learn consciously. You're kind of proud because it took some effort, but you know how it works. You can focus and get it out. But it takes a lot of effort, and then in fall everything starts to fall apart. It's a bit more complicated. But then comes winter. Winter is dark. Winter is empty and cold. It's frigid, and you don't know anything anymore. You're like, where did it all go? After a lot of pain comes March, and finally with March comes life, comes heat, comes warmth, and comes light. And then you finally remember, you bloom, you flourish, and boom, you know, that's when the good feeling occurs, and then you can all start again with another summer. Of course, this is not just one process happening over and over. I think it happens simultaneously a lot of times for different areas of your life. Even in language learning, I think it happens. So what was that pattern I was talking about? Well, it's simple. It's actually pretty simple. You start from zero. You don't know anything. You're at 0, 0. You start to learn about how to say hi, yes, no, some simple vocabulary. Your growth is infinite because you're starting from nothing. You feel good, you feel happy, you know how to say some stuff. And then you get confused, you forget a little bit, it feels blurry, it takes a lot of effort for you to remember, and then you forget, and then poof, if your primitive brain thinks it's essential enough for your survival, it will internalize it, and then comes the point where you can say hi, hello, yes, no in your target language, just like if it was your own native language, and it feels good. And then you start again because you had this little shot of dopamine, so you wanted to go for it again. You start again, so you were like this, you did this, and then boom. So you learn, but it starts to get tough. You forget, and then you dip, and then your brain internalizes, and then again. and then again, and then again, and then poof, you're fluent. And that's how I see things. But Luca, how do you talk with your primitive side of your brain, your primate evolution heritage? It's pretty dumb and inaccessible. How do you communicate with that? To communicate with this part of your brain that gets to choose if you internalize stuff or not, you have to understand how it works and what it understands. In a nutshell, of course. Well, it understands stuff that is not verbal. So it understands smells, it understands body language, the tone of voice, but also looks, all that. And it's actually pretty smart because sometimes you have some life-saving intuitions, and that's where it comes from. It comes from your subconscious. So it's pretty good at detecting patterns, more than your conscious mind. So you talk with him by interacting with other human beings. It's going to become alert, because when you were in nature, when you were around people, and especially when you were meeting new people, it was kind of like make or break. Either you met someone new that could save your life, or that person could kill you. So till this day, when you're meeting someone new, you're pretty alert. All your senses are pretty alert, and you're trying to pick up some patterns or some signs that that person could be good for you or bad for you. That's why we make our impression of someone new in just 2 seconds. So that's how you communicate with him, by talking to real human beings, so that it can be alert, so that it can be listening. But how to tell him that it should learn that language? Well, those persons you should meet, of course, should be natives or people that speak your target language really well. And you talk with him by making him feel like you're in danger. So how do you do that? With mistakes, with embarrassing situations you want to get out of, situations that makes you uncomfortable. No, I'm not saying that you should embark on a plane with some drugs so that you can practice your target language with foreign border patrol. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about natural and normal social setting conversations. Those are extreme enough, actually, as it turns out, because when you're talking to someone in a language you don't fully master, you're gonna face a few challenges. It's going to be hard for you to finish some sentences at some point. You're going to feel like you're in an impasse. It's going to be stressful, and then that person will talk to you, and then you won't know if you have to laugh, or if you have to be sad, or to be happy for them. So that's another challenge. And sometimes you will say things that mean the opposite thing of what you mean. For example, I once told my Mexican friends that I was embarazado by the situation. Embarazado means pregnant in Spanish. But bingo, that's what we want. We want to feel pain in our guts, to feel uncomfortable, to feel pressured by the situation, almost like if you wanted to run out. That's when you tap in your subconscious and you tell him, yeah, this is important.
Yes, I got you loud and clear, buddy. Yes, I will remember that, because that was hella embarrassing. And you know what? I'll just throw in a few sentence structure and vocabulary in there. I don't want to make that mistake again.
And boom, you got it. Mission accomplished. Now, my subconscious part of my brain knows exactly what embarazado means in Spanish, and it knows that to say embarrassed in English, I need to say incómodo in Spanish. It's deeply rooted in my brain. That shot of dopamine,
adrenaline,
will make you feel invincible after you felt miserable and you felt like going. When your brain senses that it's a crucial situation, you will get that little shot of
adrenaline,
and you will feel good. You will crave it again, and that's what we want. That's what we aim for. That's what I was talking about in the last video, in the two last video, getting obsessed with the language. That's how we clench that. What the rainy day theory says is that when you're trying to improve your level in a language, you understand consciously, and your knowledge and skills are fragile and inefficient. To internalize everything and make it a part of you, it takes a few rainy days that will make you lose balance. They will give you the false impression that you lost it all and that you have to start all over again, only working harder this time. But what that theory also tells you is that when you don't fight the rainy days and when you let yourself be wet, the sun then starts to peak, and then it shines a very bright, warm light. You finally internalized what you seem to have forgotten not too long ago. Rainy days are just days where you lose balance and your perception is completely off. You're kind of blind. But you have to trust the process and realize that forgetting and being lost is also a part of it all. It's an essential part of the process. The rain can't last forever. The clouds end up giving all of the water that they accumulated, and the sun comes to replace them. Patience and resilience is the key. So, what do you think about all this? Did this annoy you? Did you agree with this? Maybe you're infuriated and you want to insult me? Tell me everything in the comment section down below. Let's talk about language learning theories, because that's just a theory. That's just what I think. I might be wrong. So let's all discuss about it in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching till the very end. I really appreciate it. I hope that this video made you think a little bit, and I had a lot of fun scripting it and presenting it to you, and without any transition. À bientôt.